Today we're talking about net zero and a new software you have to deliver net zero. Before you tell me a little bit about that, could you let me know what obstacles are there in delivering net zero by 2050?
Goodness me. Starting with just a small, easy question to begin with, Johnny. Well, let's start with some positives around net zero. So UK and our industry in particular, the energy market, has done a fantastic job in decarbonising our energy generation. The speed and deployment of renewables and the cost of those renewables has been very, very impressive. And actually, I'm looking at today's live grid carbon intensity, and I can see we've currently got over 50% renewables, both gas and wind, on the system, which is fantastic. 105 grams of CO2 per kilowatt hour, which is that's very, very good. Some challenges around this. So I think, look, there's a roadmap out to 2050. I think people are at different stages of that journey. I think some very big challenges are on the horizon. So closure of coal plant 2025, nuclear plant due for decommissioning 2030. That's going to leave some pretty chunky gaps in our baseload generation. Adding to that the electrification of heat and the electrification of transport, demand is going to increase quite significantly. So we need to think around how we can balance the grid when we have these intermittent renewables on. We're seeing the rise of lots of gas peaking plants and large-scale grid battery storage schemes now. I think we need to start taking action at a more local level. Consumers need to have some more flexibility to aid that intermittency and to help that balancing exercise. But look, we're moving in the right direction. There are lots of things we need to do, but we can't wait for the national infrastructure and the big generators to solve this issue. It needs to be managed at a local level, and that's very much what Utility Team are championing, both with our own net zero commitment, but what we are actively promoting into and supporting our customers.
Perfect. So thank you very much, Chris, for that great answer to a very broad first question. And moving on from the wider net zero picture, there at Utility Team, you've come up with a new software, haven't you, to actually help deliver net zero?
We have, Johnny, yes, and very exciting times. We launched the product just last week, and lots of phone calls and inquiries around it already. So has certainly got some attention from the marketplace. The software has been designed to optimize the energy consumption in packaged chillers. And packaged chillers are found across a whole range of operations and industries and sectors, in particular sort of NHS trusts and large manufacturing, comfort cooling for large commercial buildings, leisure centres. There's quite an extensive list where organisations that will have packaged chillers across their estate. The software, and this is a really important one to note, the software runs in parallel with a packaged chiller's existing controls. So we're not overwriting controls. There's no cut-in. We're not changing the governance and the control regime around a packaged chiller. We are influencing it. So we are making suggestions to the chiller to operate in a more efficient way, and that is very much focused around the operation of the compressor within that chiller, and optimizes the compressor operation while still meeting the building's cooling demand. And again, that's process or comfort cooling demand. The technology itself doesn't come with any proprietary hardware. It's very easy to install. We've done installations in an hour. Where there's BMS integration or a sequencer on site, it takes a little longer, but absolutely installed within a day. Once installed, it's a self-learning software, so it's very clever and self-commissioning. So typically we'll install it and it will sit and watch the compressor operating under its normal parameters. So it starts to learn and it starts to work out how it can deliver the savings. Typically after a week, 10 days, we'll do a switch over. So we'll essentially, we push a button and ARC comes to life. And starts delivering energy savings. The beauty of this is that it comes with a live monitoring system as well, so you can actually see the impact immediately, which means there's no head scratching around, are we actually doing what we say we're doing, and that live monitoring system is in there for the length of the license. So there's no ambiguity around the efficacy of the solution. and the customer has access to that through a user interface as well. So a very cost-effective measurement and verification methodology. What we've really done when designing this product, aside from the technical, it's backed with the commercial offering, which really removes those barriers to investment. The client need pay no capex. There's no initial investment for the installation of ARC. That's all covered by the ARC team. We manage and monitor and do annual inspections, run the metering. On the as a service model, guarantees a percentage saving against typical operation, and we take a small percentage of the savings delivered through ARC, typically on a 3 to 5 year model. And dependent on application, so comfort cooling, typically the customer would be holding on to 50 to 60% of the total savings delivered. In a process environment where the chiller is running harder for longer, we would expect and have seen customers retaining the percentage savings north of 70%, touching 80%. So as a solution, easy to install, very high levels of visibility, so there's no ambiguity around its efficacy, and at no capital outlay. I think we've really ticked all of the boxes there, and now it's deploying at scale. So we're looking to move very quickly, and are actually actively seeking both resellers, installers, and partners to help us deliver this, because our aim ultimately is where there is a packaged chiller, we will go and retrofit ARC. A question often asked is, will it work on a new chiller? Actually, the efficacy of ARC on a new chiller can often be greater than on an older unit. So irrespective of age and condition, ARC will very likely have a very positive effect on both the energy and carbon footprint of a chiller's operation.
Well, thanks, Chris, for talking me through what the software is going to achieve and what it's already achieving, to be honest. And I guess that segues nicely into my next question, which is what's coming up next for utility team in general?
Wow, lots of things happening, Johnny. We've made our own net zero pledge, which has been relatively well publicized. And I think there's another video on ELN from our CEO, Delvin, explaining that. My part to play in that is not insignificant, actually, because I do quite a lot of the business miles. So need to think around next vehicle purchase, and also enhanced use of public transport as we get back to normal. But also, I think we've also become very adept, apart from the initial joining challenges we had on this call, around the use of video conferencing now. So I'd say we've transitioned that, a lot of video conferencing now. My objective is to help our customers to start or continue their net zero journey. Lots of the conversations we're having at the moment are with organizations that have a 2019 submitted ESOS report. You'd be amazed at the amount of dust sat on these reports at the moment. And our objective really is to help them unlock those reports and turn them into meaningful business cases. It has to start with a step. Many organizations are already on that journey, so we can provide them some guidance and support where needed. With many, it often is about making that first step. And actually, with the Future Net Zero rollout that we're doing now, or the promotion of Future Net Zero to our customers, it's helping them make that first step, but also start with some of the easier things. So our methodology is to help our customers understand their energy, first of all. So what energy assets have you got? How intensive are they? And often, you can deliver significant savings through optimizing existing assets, the addition of some metering, some circuit level metering, so they can actually see and find where the wastage is and eradicate it, and some of that behavioral change. So that typically is where we would encourage customers to start. Once they've got a good grasp on their existing estate and are comfortable that they're utilizing their existing assets as efficiently as possible, we then talk to them around what needs to be replaced and in what order. So a retrofit exercise typically to replace old inefficient assets with newer, more efficient assets. Once done, then you could consider a site to be relatively efficient. That's then when we'll start talking to them around sizing renewable generation. We're seeing a resurgence in solar now, and actually the price of solar, particularly rooftop, has come down significantly. And we're talking 3.5, 4 year paybacks now, which for private sector organisations is becoming increasingly attractive without the feed-in tariff now, which is really positive. And Finally, we are helping our customers to, once, and there's not many I'm talking to that are kind of at the end of that journey, but when they get there, then it's around finding approved offset schemes to really eradicate that kind of residual that they just can't get rid of, that carbon that's just always going to be there. But by investing in approved schemes, to carbon offset schemes, they can truly achieve a net zero position. So lots of activity, lots of conversations, very different conversations. We have a very broad and diverse customer base. So it's always very exciting. We're also looking at a lot of new and emerging technologies. Lots of one of the buzz industry words. There's a lot of activity around battery storage at the moment. I've been exploring a free air battery. It's a very interesting looking technology, which eradicates the need for lithium ion, in my view. And I think that certainly is a very exciting one for the near future. I suppose, in short, it's around helping the customer demystify and prioritize, and to help them roadmap their journey to net zero.